Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 2 of season 1 of the Sonderful Travel Podcast with myself, Elliot Lamprecht, and
myself, Alex Bexalter.
In today's episode, we're going to be talking to Professor Tim Wilson from series 2 of The Circle on Channel 4. A very interesting program which we watched recently, all about how you can gain popularity and ultimately win, I believe, £100,000. So he was a contestant on The Circle. We'll be talking in today's episode.
It's travel. You see, I'm not really. I know you're going to scream and you're going to think, yeah, this is a travel blog. We're supposed to a travel vlog. We're doing, and I'm going to say here, I don't give a damn about travel. I really am not interested. I felt very honoured, and I immediately knew that the influencer. In fact, I hated the word so much. I hadn't come across the word influencer because I'd only just discovered Instagram, so I didn't know what an influencer was. I kept getting the wrong name. At one point, I called it an effluencer, which would be something quite different. Sorry. But I hated the whole experience. Having had it once, I then really got to hate it. So I don't think I ever once managed to get the name influencer out without being corrected, without being said, you've got to say that again.
Hi everyone, it's Elliot Lamprecht here, joined by Alex. This is the Sonderful Podcast. And today we've got someone very, very exciting on this week's episode. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. No, I can never stop introducing myself. My name's Tim, Professor Tim. I'd misread your sign, and I looked you up. And I misread that as well. So obviously, I'm going completely crazy. I thought you were called Swonderful. I was going to start breaking into Gershwin's song at this moment. It's wonderful, it's marvelous, but it's completely inappropriate.
Yeah, I'm not sure we'd be going so well with that name.
Yeah. Anyway, that's me.
Yes,
Sonderful.
No.
So where does Sonderful come from? Who is Sonder?
Sonderful is the meaning. So basically, like, everybody is living their own vivid life. Everyone's got their own story.
Oh,
and
right. So
that's
it
what
comes
some
from,
people fail to think.
Sonderful comes from which language? What is it?
Swedish.
Is it Swedish?
It is, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know a word of Swedish. Have you both been to Sweden?
I have.
No,
Yeah,
unfortunately, I haven't. Have you?
Which one said I have? Elliot said.
Yeah, I've been
Yes.
to Sweden. I went to Stockholm a few years ago, and also travelled up north.
Yeah. Elliot, you've been to
country.
45 or so different places, haven't you?
Yes, yeah.
You went right up to the top, so you saw the lights, and you went to the
Sadly,
my
didn't see the
godmother went up
lights.
there and photographed snow.
I would love to have seen that. Yeah, I didn't manage to see the lights.
Have you been to Tibet? Either of you?
Haven't been to Tibet.
No, unfortunately, I haven't.
Been to Nepal, which is close.
Have you been to China
Not.
yet? Oh,
Yeah.
that's close. Close your eyes and it could be Tibet. Couldn't it? Have you been to China or to Dharamsala at the top of India, where a lot of the Tibetan community now live?
Not there, but we've
I
both been
haven't.
to China, which is quite an interesting
Very
topic
good. Where-
because for Alex, I believe is your favorite country, Alex, and for me, it's actually
Yes.
my least
Or
favorite.
Vietnam.
Why?
Yes.
I have to ask this from both
Yeah.
of you. What, Elliot? Tell us why it's your least favorite,
I
and then
think
we
it's
can end in a positive note with Alex.
Yeah, it's a very interesting topic actually, China, because you've got me on one side who have been to Chinese cities. I've been to Guangzhou and I've been to Beijing.
Yes.
And Alex has actually traveled through China, some of the rural parts. He's met some of the real locals. So it's two different kind of styles to the country. For me, I've seen the hustle and bustle of the city, some of the markets, for me, I just found it quite soulless. I didn't find people very friendly in the cities. And I mean, it was torrential rain the whole time. Not the weather really matters. Obviously, it's nothing to do with the
Oh,
country.
it matters. It matters.
Yeah,
It matters. I promise you, Elliot, a slight digression. If it hadn't been raining on the day when Studio Lambert telephoned me to be in the circle and asked me, would you consider doing this this program, which I'd never heard of. If it hadn't been raining and cold in Cambridge, I probably wouldn't have said yes, but it was cold, raining, miserable. I was teaching.
Wow.
I would have said yes to anything.
Wow. There
And
you
I
go.
did. Actually, it was a good experience. I enjoyed doing the show. I enjoyed the filming.
Yeah.
Anyway, Elliot, continue.
Yeah.
Wet and raining in Chinese
it
cities.
was-
I can't think of anything nastier than
Yeah.
Cambridge.
It was a slightly rough experience. Some of the markets is quite brutal. A lot of animals you probably wouldn't want to eat on display, that sort of thing. Just for me, it was all a bit too much.
I'm holding myself back from mentioning a world pandemic. But
well,
go on.
Exactly. You can really see where it might have started there when in those
It may not
markets.
have done.
Yeah,
it may not have done.
But yeah, no, I mean, for me, that's just my side from very much the city point of view. But I really find Alex's opinion on the country very interesting because it's much more real China, which is actually something I haven't experienced.
Alex, go on, tell us what give us a positive view.
I absolutely loved it. Like, we stayed, we must have gone through China in a week, about a week. We were the first ever British people to go through with a brand new border, because it literally only just been made that year. We were literally the first ever British people, which is cool to start with. And then it was literally just like the first 24 hours, we had to straight get on a train and we had to travel. And we couldn't film. We weren't allowed anything or anything like that. So we're in the autonomous zone or something like that.
Oh, yes.
So we weren't allowed to do anything, and we just had to travel and get somewhere, and then we were allowed to start again. So we had, as soon as we got to the place, it were.
So you were actually in a military zone, I suspect.
Yes.
There was an illusion in the circle that I was supposed to be terribly upset about James. I don't know if you've seen this, but James was catfishing.
Yes.
James was catfishing as a lady called Sammy with a child called Charlie. And I was supposed to be terribly, terribly upset that James wasn't telling the truth. I knew that James was fake from the beginning. You know, you see a photograph of mother and child, and you think,
100%.
That one's worked for 2,000 years. Why won't it work now? And every time I try to draw him, literally, I drew an icon. And it was sort of Virgin Mary and Christ. I thought, why can I not draw Sammy? Because she's not real.
Yes, that's exactly why.
You know, and yet Woody, the moment I put pen to paper, out he popped. And when I tried to draw him as a white rabbit, he popped out. It's still Woody. It's still clearly 100%. Woody. So he was real.
You had a good bond.
Immediately.
Yeah, you had a good bond with Brooke, Georgina, Woody, Ella. You had a really, really good bond with them all,
and with people you didn't really see much of, like Jan and Cy.
Yes.
I had the most wonderful bond with Cy. We spent hours discussing combine harvesters and cow poo, and because I was brought up on a farm, so I know about these.
So you had a lot in common.
I can't drive. I cannot drive. Even now I can't drive, but I steer a really good plough line. And as long as somebody's hanging onto the tractor to switch me on and switch me off and change gears, I'm okay. I was doing it at the age of 5. But drive, I'm terrified. No, I've only had one driving lesson. That was a disaster.
How did you feel when you came second in the first voting and also became an influencer?
I knew from the moment that I was... I was incredibly flattered. I didn't expect it. I never expected at any time to be voted up at the top. I always, every single time we had the vote, I thought I was going to be on the way out. So it's extraordinary every single time. You know, some of the runners were saying, "Oh, you'll be back next time," and I thought, no. You know, they guide you around the place with blindfolds on and earmuffs and stuff. You look like a sort of rather strange hirsute version of Princess Leia, and it's quite nice. I quite enjoyed somebody sort of moving my shoulders around. After a while, after you've been doing it so long, they've got to talk to you.
Yes. 100%. You got to get to know them.
You know, and my relationships really were with all these people backstage. So it was terribly, terribly depressing when the show finished. And those relationships just stopped, and assumed my relationships were what you saw on the television, which were minor relationships. They grew, and you know the background had been done,
but it's not with the actual people.
But my relationship was really with the company. I loved Studio Lambert while we were filming.
I completely agree with you. The 2 people which travelled with us. Amazing people, and they never got the recognition or anything.
No, but it's even
behind.
Yeah, it's even bigger than that, because these people, in the case of mine, it was going out pretty well live.
Yes.
And the editors who were editing me, I've only seen four episodes, and most of those 4 episodes I fell asleep, or I paused the video so I could draw somebody.
So you haven't actually watched it all the way back yourself?
No, but I knew what was going on. You know, there was a scene when I was talking to Katie, who's pretending to be Jay.
Yes.
Not only did I know that it wasn't Jay, I knew that it was his mother. And I'd known that for about 3 days by the time we did the scene about soffits. And production was saying, how do you know? How do you know? They wanted a backstory. I can't give them a backstory because I can't enter my mind and say, oh, this is very logical. They assume that because I'm a professor, I'm very logical. They assume that everybody's like Einstein. I'm not a professor of science. I'm not logical. Yes. I'm illogical. I'm sort of holistic. So I see somebody, and within about 2 minutes, I've made up my mind your entire backstory. I may be wrong, in which case we'll have this delightful experience where I will discover my error, and my error is useful because my error will inform me for the next holistic decision that I make. But it is like that. It's a series of decisions I make, and then I have to try and defend them. Yes. And people who don't do this assume it's always the other way around, that you collect the information, then you draw your conclusion. No, the conclusion comes first, and then you try and defend it. I'd be such a terrifying lawyer. Intellect is not about proving how brilliant you are, because everybody knows you've got a title to show that, as a rule. So intellect is about reducing the complex into the simple, about explaining how to do this difficult thing in words that an intelligent 7-year-old would understand. I felt very honored, and I immediately knew that the influencer, in fact, I hated the word so much. I hadn't come across the word influencer because I'd only just discovered Instagram, so I didn't know what an influencer was. I kept getting the wrong name. At one point, I called it an effluencer, which would be something quite different. Sorry. But I hated the whole experience. Having had it once, I then really got to hate it. So I don't think I ever once managed to get the name influencer out without being corrected, without being said, you've got to say that again.
Yeah.
And I do remember very clearly saying, "Oh God, I'm an effluencer again." But yeah, I had these wonderful conversations with Simon. None of that, I believe, got into the edit. But I knew. But when I was talking with people like Katie, I knew instinctively, because I've got a background in animation and in film and in directing and a little bit in performance. I just knew that they would have to cross-edit this scene. And then there was a scene where I was talking to Woody, and in fact somebody showed it to me the other day, that scene, and I thought I'd never seen it. I'd always imagined that it was in close-up, but in fact Woody's in quite a long shot, and he says, he does that Woody moment, and I can feel the hair coming up on my arms or something like that. I knew he was doing that, and I knew she was looking through her book, and I knew they had to cross cut, and that it would be incredibly funny. And in fact, with Jay, because I knew this, I was rolling around on the bed, sort of barely able to contain my giggles, because it wasn't because I was sort of, doing a victory run. It was because I knew how it was going to be edited, because there was no alternative. It had to be like that. And you just take your hat off, to the editors in Studio Lambert, who are at the top of their profession, and they should be the people who are headlining that show.
It was certainly edited very well.
Not the production that's sort of steering you forward, but it just edited superbly. And at one point they had me dancing, and I'm on the beat, and I think, well, I try and be on the beat. I try and do it. I don't think I can, but I look as if I would. As if I would give Revel Thingamy a run for his money, and I've seen little bits of that, and I just think, wow, that's sensational. I remember doing it, and I remember thinking, yeah, I've sort of got the beat there, but I couldn't. It wasn't music I'm used to.
Yes,
and I don't think it was the music that you heard.
No, it'd be different.
But anyway, but they did me proud, and I felt, I'd always wanted to go on record that I felt so at home then. I felt so comfortable in that environment.
Yes. It looked.
I mean, the post circle was ghastly.
Post circle.
Post circle. After the circle.
Oh, right. Sorry.
After the circle was ghastly, and I think part of that was because I'd put so much trust and I had so much affection for the show,
Yes.
that to see all that disappear literally overnight, to see all those people that I'd made a contact with, and a really deep contact, just disappear like that. And you just feel like, I actually, you feel like cat poop.
No, I know what you mean.
It's going to be shoveled up and put out, and no amount of psychiatry is going to sort that out, because you've been dumped.
Yes. No, I completely agree.
And it's terribly painful. It's terribly painful. And if that were the only problem, we could sort of sort some of that out, but it's just sort of more of that, and it's a sort of thoughtlessness, and it's not Studio Lambert's fault.
No, it's not.
It's the fault of the industry. The industry itself needs
not
cleaning
Studio
up
Lambert's.
badly.
Yes.
If you have to take control of your creation.
Yes.
And that's really the thing. And if you aren't in control, if you can't take control of your creation, if you can't, a dog is not just for Christmas. Woof woof woof.
It's for life.
It's for life. And got to take that responsibility.
100%.
And if you don't take that responsibility, you shouldn't have a dog in the first place.
Completely agree. I
Let's go on to the
said
next
it any
question.
better. Elliot.
Yeah, well, I've just suddenly realised my canine potential.
Yeah, that's
Elliot?
thank you for being open and vulnerable there. It must have been very difficult.
Yes.
Something like, I mean, how long were you actually on the circle for in total?
I think it was about a month.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, a month, and that's your whole
It was a few more days. It was a few more days than you saw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally. But that wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it.
It's more just how quickly it all vanished.
Yeah, it literally vanished overnight.
Yeah.
And you still you still want to trust. You actually want to trust anybody, because you've been conditioned for a month to trust. I mean, I was waking up in the middle of the night and singing through the score of various musicals in hotel rooms at top volume at about 3 o'clock. Partly because that's what I had been doing in Studio Lambert. That's what I'd been doing in the Circle. I would wake up in the morning and I'd be told I couldn't get up. I had to stay in bed. So I'd just sing through the score of Dr. Dolittle or something, from the first song all the way through to the end. And apparently in the gallery, I drew a crowd, which was quite nice. And I must have found 30 musicals to do.
Wow.
Which was great. Wow. It really limbered up the voice. So, I had no problems for the rest of the day with expressing things, because I was tuned up and ready to go.
I'm sure a fair few hotel guests
joined in as well.
I'm sure a fair few hotel guests now are thinking, "Oh, that's all that noise was in the middle of the night." Now,
I had complaints. I had complaints.
Really,
it was horrible. But there was that, and there was also anybody who came up to me. They got my life story. They asked me a question. I was just out it would all come. I had no filter for about 6 months. I had no filter, which got me into all manner of problems. My partner was a torture victim, and in 2001 he was tortured, and we then took the case through the European Court of Human Rights. We won, and in the process I did some serious research on torture technique. I'm not going to start getting out the rack and the thumb screws, but in order to torture somebody in the modern world, you put them in a position where they are under stress and they become more compliant. And there's a system called the R21 technique, which was devised by the British Army and the Israeli Army to train soldiers to withstand torture. And when I go through the things which they are subjected to, that actually was exactly what I was subjected to in the circle. Now, I'm not saying the circle was being badly behaved or anything, but all reality TV programs of that sort, like Big Brother and so on, put you under stress conditions in order to make you more pliable, in order to make you more garrulous, in order to make you more better TV. And I'm sure even in the race around the world, there was a certain amount where you were placed in positions of stress where you're just eventually become sort of dependent on the TV rather than on anything else, on the camera, and you start to love the camera. Of course you do. In the same way as if you are normal. If you are a captive, you start to love your you start to love your captor. That's called Stockhausen syndrome, isn't it? Or exactly. And it goes all the way down to sort of the zingy pictures around the walls. Which look as if they were produced by an artist from First World War camouflage, so ship camouflage. That didn't have much an effect on me. I mean, you only have to see the color of my socks and you realize I'm I don't care about zangy colors. But heat, noise, being moved around. So losing your sense of self. And of course no clocks. Did you have watches and race around the world?
My dad did, only because it wasn't allowed any Bluetooth or any internet connection.
Yeah, exactly. But, so you have you are still sort of, even in that situation, you are still sort of removed from reality. So your reality becomes the program. And it's a great way of doing a program, but you have to allow for the period of coming down afterwards, and it takes a long time. It does. Depending how intense that experience is. And it's not just a matter of throwing psychiatry at it. You've got, I mean, the throwing psychiatry at it, I think is sort of slightly absurd. If you need a psychiatrist after being on one of these shows, does this mean you weren't properly vetted in the first place? Does this mean they were casting a lunatic? Or does it mean that the show is so painful that you now have a mental health problem? So I don't see that as the automatic solution. I see the solution as being, setting up some sort of professional regimen. And the government's response in relation to Jeremy Kyle is just pathetic. I can imagine. They think it's about contestants who are hungry for fame, who have applied to be on these shows. I didn't apply. I am not hungry for fame. I'd already done my clash with Nigel Farage. I'd already thought I'd get a brick through the window. So I knew about fame, I'm sort of indifferent to that in a way. Now I've got Instagram. Of course, I'm counting how many followers I'm losing by the day or whatever. But more that's gaining. But it's not about the contestant or the participant. It's about the public watching this and suddenly realizing, as they will, that in many of these shows, Love Island particularly, the entertainment that they are enjoying is that it comes at such a price. It's like a gladiatorial combat. And so if you count up the amount of suicides and the amount of depression, you think this is not an industry that can survive for much longer unless it is reformed.
Couldn't agree more.
And that's the problem. And I've experienced some of it. So, I do understand. But,
I guess the big question here is, all these reality programs like The Circle, like Love Island, well, they're emphasizing the fact that the contestants get access to a psychologist, that kind of thing. But the big question is, should that be a thing? Should we be running programs on national television where contestants are going to need psychology afterwards, putting them in that position?
Elliot, that is the point. That is the point. If we are admitting that's what they need, then there's something wrong with the program.
Already something wrong.
Absolutely. You want to care for people's mental health.
That's where at one point I actually did have to speak to a psychotherapist on the Caspian Sea because I was done with the show. We were stranded on the Caspian Sea. We didn't know when we were getting out. Yeah, we didn't know when we were getting out or anything. It had been like 3-4 days and I'd completely lost my head and I was saying like, I need to go, get me off the show. I'm done. I quit. And then they were like, right, you can speak to Marcy. And she was amazing.
Marcy, isn't she lovely? Did you talk about her children?
Yes, 100%. So we spoke to the same person then.
Yeah, we've spoken to the same person. But again, there isn't a clear understanding of what is a psychiatrist, what is a psychotherapist, what is a counsellor. In a way, it's a one. This person deals with the mind, so go and talk to them. And lovely talking to these people. But psychiatry is a really big, sort of clinical issue, and it's not a sticking plaster. It's a big thing.
Yes, I completely agree.
And I think there's a sort of box ticking, wand waving approach.
Yes.
As long as we've got this person there, and the person we're talking about is just lovely. Why would you not want to talk to her? I would always want to talk to her, but it's
100%.
But that may not necessarily be what is needed. What is needed is to know that it's to know that within the context of the show, there is a route to follow. Now, even if the show itself doesn't want to show you that route because it's more fun if you don't know it, you need to know that when you come out, you're going to be supported. And I'm not sure at that point, the show isn't really very interesting. Why should it be? No. The show does what the show does. The show produces shows. So that's what it should do. It's for other industries to do the support. Yes. So if you don't have that support in place at the beginning, if you don't have an agent who's got your back, if you don't have a union who's got your back, and if you don't have medical insurance, which is going to cut in wherever you need it, who do you depend on?
100%.
And this seems to me, these things already exist. So it's not that we have to invent something new. We don't have to invent the wheel. The problem is that a lot of the professional filmmakers don't want these people involved.
Yes.
So I know from talking to Equity, which is the actors union, that they were approached by Simon Cowell, who said, no, these people shouldn't, Britain's Got Talent and stuff. Wow. These people shouldn't have agents. These people shouldn't have equity representation because they're performing as themselves.
Yeah.
And I think they were bullied into agreeing to this. He was actually saying something. He didn't realize what he was saying, or he's been misquoted to me. He said they were performing as themselves, so they were performing. And when you are on one of these shows, even if you are yourself, you are performing as yourself. It's very difficult to be yourself. You only have to pose for a camera, for a photo with a camera, and people say it's not really you. And you say, oh, shut up! And you go through endless permutations of your smile, your camera smile, and it's not what we see in real life. So the difference between an amateur and a professional: an amateur rehearses until they get it right. A professional rehearses until they cannot get it wrong.
Yes.
And so if you're presented with something, you've got a choice, and this is what happens in the reality TV. You've got a choice. Either you do it at first sight and then you get the reality, but that's still performance, or you go away and you learn the script and you learn it and you rehearse it and you rehearse it and you rehearse it until it becomes original again.
Yes.
And that takes a lot. So you've
100%.
got those two choices, but both of them are performance. Yeah. And in the first one, you are so supported by your editor, by your director, by your producer, by your casting. And they're assuming there's something in you. Yeah. And as long as you feel supported, as long as you feel brave enough to do that first take, because that's what it is, then that's usable, but it's a performance. And I was incredibly lucky on the show. There was a point at which when I look back, I realized I became Tim. And that was after I'd been bullied by Richard Madeley about my cat. And I was so upset. Well, you don't remember most of it. Most of it, I was crying.
Really?
I was deeply upset. I mean, I've said to people since, these practical jokes. In Vienna, they talk about a Viennese joke. It's a nasty practical joke. Well, it may be funny. You may laugh because you're sort of embarrassed, but you're still hurt. 100%. And when Richard attacked my cat, he thought he was attacking Bay, who was on my shoulder. That wasn't Bay. That was the old cat who I thought was going to die. I didn't think she would survive while I was on the show.
Yes.
And I was wretched, and he made me angry, and I don't like that.
You know what? I have to say, I think this is very raw, and this is very important. Something that people need to. What you're saying right now ties in very much similarly to real social media, which is something that we all use all the time. And like
social media
is
dangerous.
Yeah, like you're saying about that photo with you and your cat on your shoulder. He didn't know that cat. You were worried about him at home. This is the same with social media. We put stuff out there, we make it vulnerable for ourselves, and people choose to attack that. And it is a really dangerous place.
And Elliot, why do you've used the word vulnerable 3 times so far? I think once before we started filming. And why do you think it's such an important word?
Well, look, I mean, I'm currently taking a break from social media. I was saying to Alex, I haven't mentioned her or anything. I've deleted all my apps. Especially at the moment with the pandemic, I'm feeling like everyone is quite angry. They're directing a lot of that anger to social media. If I post something right now, I don't know why, I feel vulnerable. I feel like someone might choose to attack that, might choose to have an opinion. And at this point in my life, I just don't feel like I want that. I do think that it's social media, it's become bigger than ever, more judgmental than ever. And if you do post on there, no matter what, you are vulnerable. That's kind of the way I see it.
Well, you can be. I would actually take that further, Elliot. I would say vulnerability is your selling point. Vulnerability is extraordinarily attractive. People can take advantage of it, of course, but suddenly you're sort of putting your soul on the line, and you're letting people enter into your personal life.
Well, that's the most interesting part, isn't it?
It's 100%.
It makes you more popular, but it also makes you more vulnerable and weaker in a way.
More vulnerable.
Yeah.
And if you talk to any actor, the key to a character is discovering your vulnerability and theirs. And so that's why rehearsal can be quite a stressful experience for actors. But what's fascinating about the circle was there was this point in the Richard thing, I was so upset, and after that I sort of stopped caring.
Yes.
And I realized on reflection that I'd gone through that sort of vulnerability point, and I became genuinely me. And up to that point, I was pretending to be me. I was sort of being the me I thought they wanted.
Yeah.
There may not have been any difference between the two, but to me there was. After that, I was effortlessly the sort of version of me that was filmed. People, I'm always saying to people, there shouldn't be any difference between me when I'm talking to my class and me when I'm talking to the milkman.
No, I completely agree.
It should be the same me, but often it isn't, as you know. And I felt there was a point at which that's what it became. I became me, and I wasn't making any effort. And more than that, suddenly from that point on, the world opened up, and I could see people in other rooms. I knew what they were doing. I knew what James was doing, but I didn't know about the Circle of Trust. But I knew little bits about the Circle of Trust. I thought there was something going on, but I couldn't put my finger on it because I couldn't believe that somebody who I'd made this relationship with would hate me so much, or would be so determined to win. I couldn't believe that Georgina would.
Yes.
Paddy, I didn't know, but Paddy and I actually had quite a strong relationship. And in fact, I think at the end, Paddy was the one of the 3 who voted me up rather than down. But James was the one I had the relationship with, and that's continued. I'm quite pleased about. But I didn't join the game that was eventually being played. The game that was being played and promoted on the telly was about you can be anyone you want to be. Well, that wasn't the game I joined. I joined a game about friendship and popularity, and that's the game I played, and that's the game I think Woody played and Ella played. I think it's a game Jan played, and I think Si played it. Whereas the Circle of Trust, these people were playing a different game. These people were playing the game that was actually being promoted, and I think this is what the new show is going to be, by the way. And it's a version of a show that I've only just
Yes.
discovered. It's called Survivor.
Mm.
And
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
what will you do to win? And every Tuesday I do a podcast with a lady in America, and lots of people are doing podcasts on the same thing. So I've joined the sort of Survivor community. They all think I completely disapprove of the show, and in some ways I do. I also think it's a great show.
Yes.
And I think, and again, you know, the Circle people need to realize I'm always holding two impossible views at the same time. I can love the show, and I can also say there's something I find deeply, deeply distressing about it. And, you know, if the Circle changes, which it has to change, into something else, it's not the show I did. But it would be wrong, as the adverts have been saying, that everybody felt, you know, stressful. Everybody felt that knives were going into their backs. Everybody was prepared to drop everything in order to win. I had no intention of winning, and I didn't feel that stressful.
Did you manage to watch the Circle Netflix version? Have you had a chance to check that out?
Yeah, I've seen. That's the only way I've seen any of it, actually. I think. I've seen the I've seen the American version, I've seen the Brazil version, I've seen the French version, and I've done podcasts about all of them. So I've analysed all of them.
Yeah.
The only version of the show that I haven't seen from beginning to end is mine.
Wow. That's crazy.
I am contrary. Have you seen your show?
I must have watched it about 10 times or something.
Oh my goodness, how self-indulgent, Alex.
Every time Alex
I love it. I won't lie.
He watches it.
It brings back a lot of memories. Like I can just put
Alex,
it on the TV.
Alex, next time after lockdown, next time you want to watch it, bring it round to me. I'll watch it together.
Don't worry about
You'll
that.
have a sort of.
It sounds good to me.
Yeah.
100%.
And I could you see, you know, how you were telling the story, or how the edit was telling the story?
So I'll be honest, the first 2 episodes I was a bit grouchy, and I completely I rewatch it, and they were only picking the bad parts out because they were trying to tell a story of how I'd grown up and how I progressed. But I was 50 days
that makes sense, though,
and
doesn't
6 episodes. Yeah, but that's what I mean by our 50 days, 6 episodes, 4 different teams. Nothing is shown really. It's
No. There's,
you know what I mean? There's so much which gets missed.
Of course there is, and you're not in control of that edit. That's why the editors are so good. And so if they make a decision, and then it doesn't pan out. So for example, in my case, they decided, I believe, that they weren't going to show any of my conversations with Sai because they were a bit niche. You know, they were all about poo, scatological content. And Massey Ferguson's. I'm a great fan of the little red Massey Ferguson tractor. And so when Sai got blocked, I used the passive tense because I don't really want to admit that I was the one who did it. But when I blocked Sai, he wanted to come and see me. And so I think production thought, oh, well, he wants to come and sort of shout at you. Yeah. Why would he want to shout at me? We'd already established this incredibly close bond, so it didn't make any sense in the production. So I don't know what they did at that moment, but I know we had a nice conversation. And he said, "I've been told I've got to ask you why you blocked me, but I know why."
No, I completely understand that.
And I also gather he was absolutely defending me to the hilt when he was on the sofa. He's such a good, you know, if you want to see somebody who's relaxed in front of the camera, that's Sai. He's just comfortable. So I think he didn't get as good an edit as he could have got. He could have been a great player.
I completely agree. He seemed like a cool guy, and then they literally just didn't they only showed the tiniest bit of him whatsoever. Yeah. They didn't show him much, and I didn't think that was fair.
Well,
I didn't think that was fair whatsoever.
Lots is not fair when you're telling a story. I mean, you've got your main characters and you've got your supporting cast.
Yes.
But your contestants are not told this. They're told they're contesting in a game, but it's not a game.
Yes.
It's a TV show, and they're making a structured TV program. So if you want somebody to vote for something, well, actually, there's many levers you can press without literally directing somebody. It's like being in a magic show, and that really is reality TV. You are in a magic trick. Even something like The Circle, I have to talk to both of you in order to get you to vote me the most popular. There's one good way to make sure I get voted off, isn't there? You make sure that I only talk to Alex and I can never talk to Elliot. So what is Elliot going to do? He's going to think, oh, Tim, he's an absolute shit. He's never spoken to me.
Yes.
Are you going to give me your vote, Elliot?
Yes.
No, you're not, because I've never spoken to you. Or there could be a whispering campaign. You could get Alex, what do you think of Tim? Do you like Tim? Really? Even though he's sort of nearly 60 years old. I mean, he's old, isn't he? And gradually, and then you go to Elliot and you say, Elliot, Alex thinks Tim's very old. He doesn't understand. Do you think he understands what you're talking about? In the end, you'll vote me off.
Well, don't worry, Tim. We won't be voting you off.
That's how it is.
I was
it's all good.
I was incredibly lucky, and I take my hat off every time to the editors of that program, because even if and I don't think I was expected to stay more than a week, so I defied the system.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you were the most popular. You were the most popular outside from the public. Point of view by far.
But I enjoyed being popular inside as well. I enjoy meeting people. We're coming up to another one of your questions. We've got to get into your question, otherwise we'll just be labouring here for 24 hours, and we'll never get anywhere through your questions. But
yeah, so what was your favorite travel destination? I mean, from the way I see, I mean, you got the hat there. I'm like say maybe a Moroccan hat.
No, it's Georgian. It's Georgian. But it doesn't come from Georgia. It comes from a student who I taught years ago, and she gave me a hat, and I thought, wow, this keeps my head warm, and it means nobody can see that my hair is beginning to drop out in the middle.
I mean, it's
and
very
maybe
cool.
it keeps it anchored.
Yeah,
it's the next alternative to a wig, really, isn't it?
I like it. Rock it.
Well,
rock it. I like it.
I'm hoping for another one at some point. So but I would only ever wear something I was given. I wouldn't go out and buy one.
Yeah.
I don't think, but the travel. You see, I'm not. I know you're going to scream and you're going to think, yeah, this is a travel blog. We're supposed to a travel vlog. We're doing, and I'm going to say here, I don't give a damn about travel. I really am not interested. But
it's your honest opinion.
I love meeting people from other backgrounds. So I'm afraid travel is implied in that experience. I love being surprised by people who don't share the same background as me.
Yeah.
And I love finding out more about them.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
the only annoying thing about being on the telly is people want to find out more about me. And so I feel I've got to go into this sort of, I've got to steal the conversation and do all the talk, which I'm quite happy to do, really. But at the back of my mind is thought, I haven't asked them much about themselves.
Well, I mean,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, even though we are a travel, platform, this podcast especially, our only aim with it is just to meet and talk to really interesting people. So
where's the best country you've been to, Elliot?
It's a very good question. I usually say it changes a lot. I think Alex has the same answer here. It always changes, but I usually say Fiji, just because my experience there. I spent,
really?
I spent a month living there in a local village, which was
so you could do the latest version of Survivor, couldn't you? I think that's being filmed in Fiji.
I could, yeah. I'm not sure how well I'd fare.
I think it is. I think that's where it's filmed now.
I'd probably say Fiji. Though.
You'll be great. You'll be great. Yeah. Why do you like Fiji?
For me, my favorite country is based off of the experience that I had there, not necessarily based off just the country. So I had a very local experience there. I really learned about the culture, the language, the way the local people live on a daily basis. I found that just very interesting, and especially how different it is to here in the UK. And it was I was 18 when I went there. It was my first taste of proper different culture. So I think I was just taken aback by it, and it's really left a mark on my brain.
How are you with other languages?
Well, not so great. I mean, I know a little bit of French just from school. I'm half South African, so I speak a bit of Afrikaans, but I'd love to learn some more. Yeah.
Well, Alex, same question.
Unfortunately, I can't speak any other language apart from English, but I want to learn Spanish, to be honest, because I want to do season 2's route a bit.
Yeah, why not? And you should learn a bit of Russian. My Russian stinks, by the way.
I have some
It's
Russian
so
family,
bad.
so it's definitely up there with.
It's
some
so
things.
difficult. It really is so difficult. And I've got a Turkish partner. I can barely manage a sentence in Turkish. You know,
Yeah,
I think I'm a linguistic disgrace.
Wow.
But I am curious. I'm so curious about, you know, about where words come from,
Yes.
how people express themselves, what they do. In Russia, it's extraordinary what funny bits of information you've got. In Russia, I don't know a lot of modern Russian, but I do know when I was at university, I learned Church Russian, Church Slavonic. So going into a church, I know what's going on, and most of the Russians have no idea.
Yeah.
Same thing in Greek. In Greece, I know exactly what's going on because I understand that sort of language. But I remember going into a lift, and there was a little lady, you know, who guards the block of flats, and she wouldn't tell me where I had to go, and then she started swearing at me, and she was saying "Господи помилуй, Господи, Господи," and I just got so angry. What? Which means, you know, it's all about God. So of course I knew exactly what she was saying because these are words straight out of the Russian church, and. You know that, so you use what you've got.
Yes.
I remember being told quite early on, don't have an argument in another language because you'll never win, and it's quite
No, Italian,
Nah,
something like
my
that.
dad told me that as well. Yeah, I listened to,
your dad is a wise man. Yeah,
my dad is a wise man.
What languages does he speak? This is Darren.
He can only speak English. Yeah, Darren. He only speaks English as well.
Right.
I've never heard him speak a different language.
I think
He likes to think he
Darren,
does, but I mean,
Darren will
when it comes to
feel
it, he doesn't.
extremely happy. His ego will be through the roof right now that you've called him a wise man.
Oh, 100%. Wait
But
until
he
he
is,
listens to
he?
this. He's gonna love it.
I
Yes,
always
he
say
is.
his mindset is
100% he
incredible.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so really they wanted that sort of contrast between the two of you, didn't they? And that's what they were playing at the beginning. And then you sort of grew into yourself because, you know, Alex, you've got a fine head screwed onto your shoulders.
I try.
Well.
I'm just
so
myself.
You've inherited
Yes.
that well.
I guess so.
So Elliot, would you do television?
I definitely do television. Yeah, I've been on YouTube creating content for probably 5 or 6 years now. I've been in the radio industry for a long time.
Have you really?
Yeah, done a lot of work in radio. So I've never really branched out into TV, but I'd definitely be open to do it.
Very good, very good.
I was gonna say, what is on your travel bucket list which you haven't done already? Have you got? Because I know you don't like traveling, but
I haven't.
Like to know.
See, I hate the whole. I literally hate the traveling process. I don't mind arriving and being somewhere, providing I'm looked after. But I'd like to complete my journey around the Adriatic. I think you know up Croatia and places like that, and
yes,
I'd quite like to be there for a while. And Northern Italy, I just don't know Northern Italy as well as I should.
Yes,
I think imagine Tim on Race Across the World, Series 3. Let's make it happen.
Yes.
I think the real thing is, if I go traveling anywhere, I would like to travel by TARDIS. I think that would be the ideal traveling experience, where you could just sort of key in your place and time, open the door, and there you are, and you don't have that misery of sort of, you know, the 3-hour wait of sort of not knowing what's going to happen. Maybe in the TARDIS you don't know what's going to happen anyway. So there we are.
Of course.
Right. So yeah, I don't know where I'd like to go. Probably somewhere to continue around the Adriatic and little places in France. I like Paris. I'd love to go back to Paris.
Paris is a beautiful
spend a lot more
place.
time there. And and most of the cities in Italy, I'd be quite happy spending a lot of time.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it back to the circle real quick. I'm quite interested as to what life was like for you, essentially in lockdown, before lockdown was a thing. So,
well, yeah, it's really the contrast between the two types of lockdown.
Yeah.
So the lockdown in the circle, if I had wanted to go out, I couldn't really have done so. Whereas in lockdown in real life, I could sort of go out of my front door and have some exercise, as Boris would put it. You know, I don't have a bike and I can't go 7 miles, but I could do some exercise in my version. That's going to the shops to get something important, which means a bar of chocolate. But so I could do that. You couldn't do that in the circle. On the other hand, you knew the circle was coming to an end. I didn't quite know when it was coming to an end because I'd miscalculated. Yes. Also, it did finish rather sooner than I expected, and I was rather relieved because I think it was getting to the point at which I was getting tired.
Yeah, you get bored, sort of thing.
And well, I was never bored. I mean, that's the other thing. I've always got things to do. I've got drawing to sort out. I had some Dickens which I wanted to read, and in fact, I read very little. I sort of threw it around in the gym, which was rather entertaining, I suppose. I read a silly novel, but mostly I just did drawing, and that was great. And I tried to remember songs in different languages, which was entertaining. And how many times could I use the word bay in a sentence? Baywatch, beautiful, and I had a little thing behind so on my table, and I managed a different bay pun every day, which was great fun.
No, of course.
That took up a good hour every morning, and it was just so. It really was much more eventful than you saw on the telly.
No, I can imagine.
And
that does bring me. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Tim. That does bring me to a question which I got asked by one of my followers on Instagram. Somebody called Jack asked, "What do you do to fill the days on the circle? Are you allowed to watch films or TV? Like on a night time, are you allowed to put a film on and chill out?"
No, there was a day off each week.
Yes,
and then they did give us a Netflix choice, and of course, what would you like to see?
You wouldn't have a clue.
No idea. In fact, I think I just ended up watching Jack Whitehall and his father, and I thought that was wonderful.
Great choice.
And I did giggle. But in the end, I'm afraid. And I think I also tried to watch a program. I can't remember what it was. Glee, and it just sent me to sleep. I'm supposed to like that sort of thing, but really it's just soporific. It's like it's the next best thing to paracetamol. And sorry. I think possibly I suffer slightly from narcolepsy. When I'm sort of happy, I just go to sleep. And that cinema, television, theatre, I can generally remain awake. So I'd like to do theatre. I'd love to do a big West End show.
Fantastic thing.
Actually, you'd never get me out of the West End if you want.
I think you'd be very good in West End. Your voice would.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I would love it. And the other day I was I'm doing a little work with a musician at the moment, and it's just wonderful to get back to directing, even if it's over Zoom or Skype, and it's just amazing. And you suddenly realize there's things you've learned over the years that you've got to pass on. It's been a long time since I've sort of genuinely performed on stage. The last time I had terrible stage fright, and the circle was a wonderful revelation to me, really, that I just felt comfortable performing. I felt comfortable.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it will open some doors.
Being, whether that's a sort of a version of me or whether it's well. So far, I don't know. There's some talk of one or two things, and our fingers are crossed, and we just hope. Otherwise, I've got to start rebuilding my animation career, which it's like going back 5 years, and you think, oh, wow, no, and 5 years when you're approaching your 60th birthday is quite significant.
That's another question I had, Tim. A lot of people ask me this from my Instagram. How does the food process work? Because if you're not allowed to go to the shop to go buy your meal each day, how does that work?
My fridge miraculously stocked up with steak and cheddar cheese and and stuff. But they were very concerned about me because they wanted to see they wanted me to have variety. And at one point, fish started to appear. I thought, what the hell is this? To go back in the sea where it belongs.
I'm with you on that one.
No, I
But,
love seafood. I can't
Yeah,
agree with you on that.
I love seafood as well, but I just make sure no bones,
Yes.
and it's all cooked it's all cooked for me, so I don't have to do that bit. But I had tightened my belt and I got on with it. But basically, I just like the same thing every day. I don't like change. I am so boring. It's
it's one of
boredom is a virtue. Boredom and anxiety. I've turned both of these into an art form.
Best thing to do.
Yeah, and my name anyway, Tim. It's short for Timothy, and Timothy is a good Greek name. Have you been to Greece? Oh, have you been to Greece?
That was the first checkpoint. We went to Delphi.
It's all rather grand
first
in
checkpoint.
Delphi. Yeah. So,
yeah, and then Athens. Yeah.
Athens. I like Athens. I lived in Athens for about 10 years.
Beautiful.
But Timothy, good Greek word, Timotheos. And it divides into two words. The second word is theos, which is God. And the first word is I fear. Well, I only use the first part of the word. So I have made myself an icon of anxiety, an icon of fear. That's who I am. And so
embrace it.
I embrace it. I embrace it.
100%.
I never quite know what's going on. And
I love that.
That gives me something to think about.
100%.
So I'm very interested into the social media side of the circle, how it ties in. You mentioned just now you're an icon of fear. I think social media breeds a lot of fear. So how have you dealt with that? After the circle, have you experienced a bit of that?
I've experienced a bit of that. I've been trolled, and I didn't really get to handle my own Instagram for quite a while. It was felt that I wasn't fit to, and I think my friends were quite right.
Yes.
And then I got control of it. I've sort of got the handle on it. I was always comfortable with YouTube because that was make a film, which I can understand, and then drop it in, which I can understand. Instagram was a different thing. It's much more direct.
Yes.
I'm always good on a challenge. So I'm very excited by getting followers or losing followers. I find that the numbers game really excites me.
Yes.
But twice I've been seriously worried. Once the whole system was hacked, and I got defrauded out of quite a lot. And then more recently, there's been these people pretending to be me.
Yes, I noticed that on your Instagram account. I noticed that people.
I was quite disturbed about that, and in fact, I can tell you the name of the person who's pretending to be me.
Name and shame them.
Let's expose.
Can I? Because this person has changed their name multiple times actually.
Name and shame them, Tim.
Yeah, and now this person is called. No, it's gone. Can't find him. Right, that's disturbing.
That's a shame.
Now they may find they've gone, but they changed their name about 4 times. And,
people are weird, Tim. Honestly.
But I did a live, and this person appeared on the live as the real Tim Wilson, and saying, "Do you love me?" I said, "Well, no. I'm really angry with you." So that's genuine anger. I wasn't angry with James, but I was angry with this person because this person, and I also feel I'm pretty certain I know who it is or what it is, and I did send them a message saying I know who you are and you will be exposed.
Love that.
But why would anybody think that I can identify catfish in the circle, and that I'm not going to continue doing that in real life?
Yeah, you're a professional.
100%. That's it. Professional catfisher.
But it doesn't make me terribly good, and of course I do want to see the best in everybody, but it doesn't make me as sort of pincery as I should be, perhaps.
You got to try and get Instagram.
I don't know what to do about
that blue tick. Try and get them to give you the blue tick.
I've applied a few times and I just get nothing. I don't know. I don't know
how you haven't got it.
Honestly, Instagram is very strange.
It's very strange.
Believe it or not, I had the blue tick a few years ago on my main account.
Elliot, I sort of hate you, really. I sort of hate you.
But one day, miraculously, it disappeared, and I've never been able to get it back. So nobody really knows how that works.
You have lost your blue tick.
I have.
Elliot, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And Alex, do you have a blue tick?
Nah, I've requested a few times, and because I were on a BBC show, I thought I'd be given one, but apparently not.
Yeah. Are you oozing with envy for Elliot now?
Well, not anymore.
it's just-
Let me just clarify.
Not anymore. Yeah. We'll get you your blue tick back.
Yeah, one day. Maybe.
I'm just trying to. Yeah, we're just both trying to grow our own personal accounts and Sonderful as a
Very
company.
good. Very
No,
good.
yeah.
Very good.
That's our
But
plan.
I
Keep active during lockdown.
I think the social media thing. It's dangerous. It's very open. That brings with it sort of opportunities, as well as dangers. And I think one just has to be true to oneself and project that sort of. This is why I thought the circle was such a good thing, because the circle was projecting this image of friendship and popularity, which is what it's all about.
Yes.
And I'm not so sure I entirely approve of what will you do to get the cash. I don't like that. I don't like that advert. I don't like the suggestion that I was ever involved in that. I'm not involved in that. I wouldn't do anything to get the cash. That's why I'm poor as a church mouse.
I feel you on that.
You wave cash in front of me, I walk in the other direction.
I feel you on that
one. But I steel myself to sort of say, you owe me some money. But I just think people who work should be paid. I've got a sort of slightly different take on it, because I think, if somebody comes up to me in the street and says, "Can I have a selfie?" I think, well, I can change this person's life for a few minutes. I can make this person happy, and that's my job. That's my responsibility. And it's not my responsibility to throw a hissy fit and say, "Oh, I'm busy. Can't you see I'm doing something else?" No, I only live for this. Really, it's what I'm here for.
Yes.
And I think
I
that's
agree
lovely,
with
because,
you.
and I can then ask them, what was it like? And what do you do? A little bit of me sounds a bit like the Queen, but she's got it right.
Yes.
It's really
want
interesting.
To find out about them. 100%.
It's really interesting finding out about other people, and they will tell you. And one of the problems that I cause my partner and all my friends is if ever we go out, I will start talking to the waiters and the waitresses and the various people, and what do you do in real life? And they're all terribly embarrassed by this. And now I don't have to ask these people, because they'll come up and tell me, and that's great. So
no, definitely. I see it as if somebody's gonna take 2 seconds out of their day to come say hello and ask for a photo. The least you can do is do the same.
Absolutely, and it requires a certain amount of guts. It requires a certain amount of guts to do that, doesn't it? Really, and you just
100%.
think, well done on you. Well done.
Yes.
And it's much nicer when they do that than when you walk down the street and you hear, "Oh yes, yeah, he was, and I know he was."
Yeah.
And you think, what are they discussing?
You can hear it.
You can
hear him talking about
or
it.
you can see the faces move. And it's so much nicer to, the London taxis going down the street and the window goes, "Hello, Tim." And you think, do I know you? Of course I don't, but he knows me.
Yeah. That's still the weird thing, which my dad gets from it as well. Is my dad even tried escaping it, and he went to the countryside for about a week, 2 weeks. He had enough. He had enough of TV. He had enough of people, because he's not really a people person. And then he got to the stage where he had to realize there's no escaping it. This is what we're known for. This is what we're known for now. Is race across the world and surf.
But you need to build on that so that you become something more than
100%. That, and which is what we're doing.
And that's the beautiful thing about this. 100%. Yeah, we got a last few. This one has a potential to be a big question. I feel like the answer is going to be fascinating. I'm very interested to know what inspired you to get into philosophy and theology.
Oh my God! Desperation, really. The theatre, because I really wanted to do the theatre, but I didn't know very much about the theatre. I had quite a sheltered life, and I think possibly theology was the church was my understanding of the stage. Number one. Number two, as with any sort of subject, it's fascinating, and when you look at sort of real academic subjects like maths. Maths has certainty, and there's not very many other subjects other than maths that have certainty. Theology has certainty. It may be based on something that not everybody can agree to, but it has certainty, and that's fascinating. And I learned through theology. I learned how to hold two different views at the same time, and I'm really grateful for that. So it meant that, when I had to look at law, particularly when we were taking the case through the European Court of Human Rights, it was easy. It was just about assembling the evidence and looking at it closely and looking at the holes. And the fact that somebody tells you a story doesn't mean it's necessarily true or necessarily false. It's their understanding of the story, if you're lucky. I mean, they may be lying through their teeth, in which case it will come out. Generally, a lie is just a little bit too neat, and the truth is not always that tidy, and that's rather exciting. I'm a bear of little brain. I'm like Winnie the Pooh. Give me a jar of honey, and I'm much happier.
Oh.
I've just finished my last jar of honey, by the way.
Wow.
Honey and marmalade. So I'm a cross between Winnie the Pooh and Paddington.
That's not a bad two to be.
It's not, is it? Really? It's not. It's sort of comfortable.
Exactly.
So philosophy, and I would encourage anybody to do it, in fact, and also it gives you access to language. So you look at how things are structured, what the different words which people are using to express them, and you look at the there's always lurking around the back of that is what do I believe, and I'm not really very sure now, but I became a monk, and I think having been a monk, studying theology and philosophy was probably the right thing to do. It was very difficult to move from that to another subject. I tried desperately, but I'm quite pleased with what I did. I think if I had a choice now, I'd probably have studied English or law. Though I find most of the time now I seem to be reading a lot about history. But it's a really good preparation. What did you study?
Well, I didn't, I guess.
No. Tell me more.
Yeah.
You are a clean slate.
I have an interesting background. So I left school, I would say probably traditional school at about 14. I was playing international tennis and did homeschooling.
Were you really?
Much. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So you would have been tutored.
Yes, homeschooling. So which is what everyone's doing now.
I've been tutoring people for years, by the way.
Yeah.
I do understand this alternative to school.
Yeah. So I never.
It can work, but
never did that sort of conventional school path or university. I actually did college for 1 year. And
how are your aces and all those sort of things?
Yeah, I mean I'm 6'4", so I've got a bit of a serve.
There you are. So it's you got got all these balls stuck in the net around.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? I actually don't know Alex's studying background. Funny enough.
Yeah, I don't really talk about it. So basically, year 11, I got kicked out of school for just. I didn't do anything wrong. The teacher said that they couldn't handle my back chat anymore because I always felt like, because I always clashed with some people and didn't clash with some people, which is life. Like you'll get on with people, but you also won't get on with some people. Where I don't know.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we just didn't have different. We had different grounds, and like they didn't respect me, so I felt like, why should I respect them?
Absolutely.
Sort of
you should have been in my school.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got kicked out. I got sent to college.
We would
in year
both
11.
have been kicked out then. What age is year 11? I can never remember.
What's that? It's just
16?
15, 16, right?
15, 16, right. So you did
college.
GCSEs.
So I got sent to college in year 11, but I was only able to do maths, English, science, and business.
Oh
my God. 13, 14 different ones. So I could only do them four, and I failed all of them. So I mean, I was like, right, well, we go in again. So I went again the year after. I did maths, English, and photography. I mean, I passed everything. And then the year after, I was working in a bar, and then that's when Studio Lambert approached me and were like, "You want to do this race class?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, get me out of here. I've got nothing to lose."
Yeah, so very, very good.
All my teachers always told me I'd amount to nothing. I'd go nowhere. I'd be a failure. So I'm just.
But you have such an engaging personality. You're very charismatic.
Yeah, I'm just myself. I don't know. I get told I'm a likable person, but I guess. I don't know. Maybe when I was younger, I were a bit different, but I don't think so.
Alex, I can't believe that we're just establishing this now because you were more vulnerable than I was there. I also got kicked out of college after the first year for the same reason.
Did you really?
I had no idea that we both have had this pretty much the exact same path with education.
I'm so sorry.
not
I'm
know
so
that.
sorry.
There you
That's
go. We're
crazy.
finding
But
something out of each other on our own.
Same stronger
podcast.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean,
Learning
isn't it
more about
extraordinary?
us.
Education should be encouraging independence, therefore variety, and yet it wants you to sort of streamline it into a particular form. I so disapprove, by the way.
Well, I think
It's just-
like Alex said there, the last thing that my head teacher or whatever the college said to me was, if you step out that door and don't return to education, you're going to be a failure in life. And this is something which I think we were told a lot by our teachers by the sound of it. But I mean, what we've done here, and I believe our views are, education is the most important thing, but we just find a more creative outlet into educating ourselves.
Education continues for forever, and so ideally what you learn is how to keep this going. And the subjects we learn at school, these are just vehicles to develop your skills. No one's going to remember the history they did at GCSE or A level. No one's going to remember that. They might remember how to process a story, or how to examine how something works. That's what you learn. You could do that practically.
Yeah, 100%.
It's at what point you learn how
it comes.
how it comes, and how to listen, how to process information.
Definitely.
Gosh. So I'm really interested. I'm really interested to see this transformation on camera. So I'm going to hold you, Alex, to a vision with Alex.
Yes, definitely.
And we need to get you on film, Elliot.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes,
enjoy that.
definitely.
I think it's very good.
On
yes.
TV.
It's surely it's my turn. I've been on Alex's back. He's been carrying me with all of his fame. I need something.
There we are.
It's your turn.
Right. Yeah.
If you could go back into the circle, would you play the game? Would you play the game the same, or be a catfish? I can imagine I already know the answer.
I've got sort of three answers for this one, really. But do you want the elaborate one, or do you want the monosyllabic one? But the monosyllabic one is I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I've been asked if I've been asked a few times, or whether or not I'm available to sort of effectively sit on the sofa, in a socially distant sofa, and talk about the new series. I'm not convinced I'm going to do it, so I probably won't. But if I were to do it, if I were to go in, I remember talking to Freddie from series 1.
Yes, I watched season 1,
and we thought, should we if they want to do a celebrity circle, they'd probably invite one of us back.
That's what I thought.
And we said, well, we'll do it with each other. And I thought that might work, doing it together. And that would be fun. At least it would be sort of diverting. Part of the reason, part of the reason I think my thing worked was because I had Bay with me, and so I wasn't just talking to the wall. I had another being to discuss things with, and it was very liberating, actually. I mean, the negative side is it's all gone to his head. I mean, Bay, even when I switch on the television, he comes and sits in front of it. If I bring a camera out, I've got a camera here. I mean, Bay just cannot resist it. Camera out, me,
I love that.
and he's all over it. Hannah is now the older one is now sort of really old, and her back legs have almost gone. And I just have to reconcile myself to the fact that she is slowly drifting out of this life, which is a shame. But Bay had a heart attack just before Christmas, so it was very difficult.
Wow.
Very
Sorry to hear that. That's it's very sad.
So they've both got more medicine than I think I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And injecting cats with medicine is not the nicest experience.
That would not be fun.
They both spent about 4 hours hating me, and then sort of then come round. But it's a very different relationship that we've got now that I've become the doctor.
Yeah.
The Doctor.
Yes.
Doctor Who? No.
My dad would love you, Tim. Honestly, my dad would absolutely love you. You know, have a chat.
I hope we shall. We must. We
Yes.
must keep properly in touch.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I feel we may be in touch in the next few weeks anyway. But
yes, definitely.
But yeah. So I probably wouldn't do it. Is the answer. And I have thought about it. Would I do any reality TV at the moment? I think I wouldn't, because I think I would only do it when I think it's safe for other people. I think
Yes.
I don't think it could hurt me much, but I think I have to think of my responsibility to others.
So going from that, Tim, which reality show would you do possibly if you had the chance to do any reality TV show?
After I came off this Circle, I remember meeting the professionals from Dancing on Ice. I said, teach you. And I said, I'd scream. Great TV.
Great TV.
Well, it sort of disappeared from my hands. So
that's tragic.
And there was some discussion about Strictly, and I thought, well, that would be entertaining. I don't see myself, I wouldn't see myself I would see myself as competitive. I would try hard.
Yes.
Because I'm a very competitive little bear, really. I'm sort of, you have to think of Winnie the Pooh on speed. And it's really, that really is Robin Williams, isn't it?
Yes.
But, oh no, puppets. And it's just sort of, I
love that impression, Tim.
I would like to do it. I would like to do it.
Please.
I think I would prefer to do real theatre or real film or sort of news show for a while.
Yes.
I just feel I want to learn more about this industry that I've fallen into.
Yes.
And that I like. And I would like other people to be safe. I would also like to be safe. And that means I need to learn how to do the job.
Elliot, have you got any more questions?
Yeah, I think, we've covered a lot of topics today, but the one which stands out for me is really putting the reality in reality TV, a real experience, a raw experience from yourself, and how that's had an effect on you, your in opinions and stuff. So for those who might consider going into reality TV, that for those who have a social media following, would you have any advice for them, or any an insight of how to use social media positively, and how reality TV might be able to change as well in a positive way?
Well, reality TV and social media are intertwined. These two things are linked. So you're quite right to put the two together. I think we need more programs which are promoting kindness and promoting sort of positivity. And
yes,
that's hard to do. It's easy to produce a format like Survivor. It's much harder, like Tim Harcourt, to produce a format like the original version of The Circle. That's hard. So the fact that it's degenerating into another version of Survivor, and a sort of domestic version of Survivor, well, that's what was going to happen. You could see that happening with the American production, which actually was filmed just before mine. It was a much It was much more sort of it was much more gutsy production.
Yes.
And then with the Circle of Trust, that really puts the cap on it. That sort of whimsical, circle, which I thought I was joining, and that was definitely part of Series 1.
Yes.
That's had its day. It's hard to create these things and to sustain them.
No, I completely agree. Like Tim Harcourt creating Race Across the World, it's amazing, like, structure sort of show, and like it can go anywhere. So like we did London to Singapore, season 2 did Mexico to Argentina, where season 3 could do like Russia all the way through Russia, or like London to Cape Town, or like the list is endless.
But it's essentially a well-intentioned program, isn't it? It doesn't have that sort of aggression built into it.
No, definitely.
And so we need more of these. I don't remember Tim Harcourt when he was at Oxford, but I know his house, because he shared a house with one of my students, and at the
Wow.
time I was directing an opera, and so I was constantly in and out of his house. So we would have met, but I don't remember it, and he doesn't remember it.
That's crazy. And then
so,
you're on his show.
So it really is very odd. And I like him. I think he's got his head sort of screwed into the right place. Yes. And so what we need is a sort of gentle humor in social media and on reality TV. And I think reality TV, at its best, performs a social function, and it comments on the life we lead. It also sort of dictates the life we lead in many ways. It's because it's so popular, and because I think at its base, people watch it and they think, "Oh, I could be on that. I could be up there." I think the way social media often work, the way reality TV often works, that's not likely. I think there's many people who apply and they just simply are not considered. And I think that's one of the deceits of the system. The system knows exactly what sort of people 100%. It's looking for. If they haven't applied, they would go around the various modelling agencies or whatever, and they will find these people.
Yes.
And they will, you know, you didn't apply, yes. I didn't apply. No. And in my series, there were 16 people on screen. Only one of them had applied. Wow. So when the government asked the Love Island people what was the ratio between people who applied and people who were headhunted, they said, oh, it's about 50-50. I simply don't believe that.
Yeah, yes. I don't either. Yeah. They know what they want.
So they say the same with Gogglebox.
Yeah.
Studio Olympics Gogglebox, and all they're scouted. Yeah. All of them are scouted. Apparently nobody has applied, or you're not allowed to apply.
Exactly. But so this idea that you apply, I think this is deceitful. But you know, it panders to this idea that anybody that you could be there. Now that's attractive. If you take that away, is it still attractive? I don't know. I don't think the winning is necessarily the thing. And I don't think this sort of, what would you do to get the prize? I don't think that's necessarily the key to these programs. The key to these programs is about seeing character development on screen. Now, that's the same thing that you see in drama. This is just another way of doing drama. And it's a way of doing, this is what EastEnders might have been. This is EastEnders. This is another version of EastEnders. This is our soap drama in real life. But it is drama. And it is performance.
No, 100%.
I'm really proud to have been involved.
I couldn't have said it myself. No, 100%.
No. But I've got. So if somebody were to ask me, should they do it? I'm always very careful, and if they've already done it, I say, well done, and I hope it works well. Blah blah blah. If they haven't done it, I might ask them what they want to get out of it. If they want fame, well, you know, actually, if they're going to do it, I tell them very specifically that they should get a theatre agent before they sign up. They should make sure they're a member of a union, and they should make sure that their medical insurance is in order.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
But really, I think those three things should be part of the deal.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Definitely.
Have I been too firm? No. I hope not.
No, I think that you've put that very well.
No, Tim, honestly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been absolutely perfect. So I guess we'll wrap it up now, and I'll just
we have been going quite a long time, haven't we? I'm so sorry. This is quite mammoth.
Yes. No, don't apologise. We've had an amazing chat.
No one's going to watch it all the way through. They're going to think, "Oh my God, he never stops."
I don't know. Some people might. You never know.
Yeah, you never.
We'll just see what happens.
I think
the little jewels are all hidden at the end. You know.
Exactly. They're just implemented in over the course. So hopefully people listen.
100%.
I find it a fascinating chat. I think it's been one of those where we've had
100%.
We've had a common thing to talk about, like the circle and what we've been doing, but we've gone off script and we've talked about some really amazing things here.
Thank you.
Yes.
And it's just been a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd just like to say thank you, Tim, for coming on. Everyone go follow Professor_Tim_Wilson on Instagram, or check out his YouTube, check out Sonderful website, Sonderful Instagram account, Elliot's account, my account, which is just here. And
yeah.
One of the way. Anyway, yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, listening to our podcast, the Sonderful Podcast with Professor Tim Wilson. Check out his Instagram account on Professor_Tim_Wilson. My account, Alex Bexolte. Elliot's account, Elliot. Sonderful Travel website and Sonderful Travel Instagram. Check us out. Anything.
Boom. Smashed it. Make sure you'll tune in next Monday, 6 p.m. on your favorite podcast provider, whatever that may be.